Days 1 through 3. Echoes of excitement. Day 1. Our first 3 days were absolutely manic. We were full of so much anticipation that we just could not slow down. Even after 2 flights and endless airport navigation, we were ready to get on the road to our next destination.
Yay!
We picked up our car and headed into downtown to find some good vegan food and some coffee, then drove 2 hours to our first Airbnb. We landed at our first Airbnb and made some peanut butter jelly sandwiches.
Peanut butter jelly!
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Now I'm stuck in my head all night.
You wake up and sit up in the middle of the night.
Peanut butter jelly! Peanut butter jelly!
After our dance party, we settled in for the night to recharge for the journey ahead. Day 2. Our morning began in downtown Helper at the historic Kanoko gas station. This was so well preserved and really intriguing to me because you could see the old Coke machine and the old cash registers inside. After getting coffee, we had our 2-hour drive to Moab for our first reservation at Arches National Park.
Cow! Cow!
We made time for Dead Horse State Park first. And then we finally made it to Arches. After a few hours there, we decided to take a rest and set up our tent. It was slightly smaller than we expected and it did fly around in a storm at one point, but we pulled through and it was okay.
Here is the inside of our tent. We have just enough space for our sleeping bags and just a view from our campsite. That's behind us and then in front of us.
After grabbing what was probably my favorite meal of the trip, we went to Arches again for a beautiful sunset. Then we went back to camp and passed out. Day 3. We could not sleep, so we went back to Arches to catch the sunrise. We left to grab coffee and to get some food before our day began.
I have a jerky sandwich, just bread, jerky, and little veggie crisp chip things. It's about to be dry as hell, but it's about to be delicious because it doesn't need anything else. Just kidding, it needed mustard.
Then we went to Canyonlands and we became obsessed with life in the desert and honestly just how old the desert is and how much has happened there. This crater, for example, is 170 million years old, and for reference, it is 2 miles wide, so it was really difficult to capture on a video or a photo. But it was just amazing how much has already happened out there, and I'm curious about the life it has ahead. We headed back to a very windy Arches for our 2 p.m. reservation. We did a couple short but absolutely breathtaking hikes. We were so tired at this point, we almost didn't go on the last hike, but we pushed through and it was so worth it because this was such a peaceful destination. We found takeout in downtown Moab, and this was really unique. I had never had banh mi nachos before, but they were delicious. And after we finished eating, we were ready to crash. Days 4 and 5. Rearrange and reground. Day 4. Days 4 and 5, we really had to slow down.
Hello. So there's been a change of plans.
Our original plan was to head up to Wyoming to visit Grand Teton and Yellowstone for the remainder of our trip. But we learned that there was a cold front coming through with highs, I think, in the 30s or 40s and lows with the 10s or below, with rain and a little bit of snow. And we had just experienced a storm in Utah the night before. Like I said, our tent did blow away a little bit. And it also took on water. And we were just very cold and uncomfortable. So we knew, okay, we can't do this in Wyoming for the rest of our trip. And it was going to be worse in Wyoming than it was in Utah. And even if we could have found Airbnbs up in Wyoming, it was going to be cloudy and gray skies. And so we knew we wouldn't be able to experience Grand Teton and Yellowstone in the ways that we wanted to. However, lucky for us, perfect weather in Utah was basically guaranteed for the rest of our trip. So the obvious choice was to stay in Utah the whole time. We spent a couple hours at our coffee shop and created a new itinerary that included all of the national parks in Utah. That had our trip going from this to this. And that forced us to slow down quite a bit.
We're super excited for the rest of our trip. And we're staying in Moab for a couple more nights, which means more coffee. I have a rewards point at a coffee shop in downtown Moab already. I'm excited. Do you want to say hello?
Hello. It's cold.
It is cold. Yesterday it was like extremely hot.
And now it's cold.
Now it's freezing.
I have some
You never know.
super seed crackers with protein I'm about to enjoy. Okay, bye.
And I'm doing oatmeal with protein powder. We got hot water at a coffee shop and just did instant oatmeal. So, yeah, happy breakfast.
This day, we were supposed to spend all day driving to Wyoming, which was part of why we had exhausted ourselves the day before. So, to give ourselves proper rest, we decided to drive through the La Salle Mountains, which are pretty close to Moab. This was one of my favorites because of the immense diversity that you could find during our drive. We saw so many land formations. Standing in one spot, a 360 panorama could give you buttes, canyons, a volcanic plug, a river, a mountain range, and that is not even the half of it. I was just amazed. And we got as close as we could to the volcanic plug, which I was obsessed with. I love volcanoes. We went back to the campsite for a bit to rest, and then went to Arches for a sunset and some stargazing. The Delicate Arch viewpoint was breathtaking. I was about a mile away, but with my camera I could still see definition on the arch. We couldn't see very many stars because the moon was so bright, but that did make for some excellent moon photos. Unfortunately, you can't really see because the video messed up the quality, but this is a really cool picture. We went back down to our KOA and hit the hay. Day 5. Our first stop of the day, after coffee of course, was Canyonlands. You can't really tell how high up I am, but this was absolutely terrifying. This was one of our favorite hikes, and it was pretty unique because the whole trail was around the rim of a canyon. The view changed at every turn, but you could always see down into the valley below you. And this was one of my favorite snacks, a rice cracker peanut butter jelly. I just thought I should share because it was delicious, and it's super easy for the road or for hiking or camping. And I don't really know how to prepare you for this next part, so I'm just gonna say it. We saw cows crossing the road.
That's so cute.
Baby calf!
Oh, he's running so fast. Baby!
I'm coming out the other side. Because there's more babies coming.
Oh my goodness. Oh. Oh, those two I think maybe want to cross. You want to...
They did cross.
And something cool out in Utah that I've never seen in the South is open range cows who are not owned by anyone. They're protected and they're tagged, but they're not farmed or exploited in any way. They are just living and roaming in the grass, and they honestly look really healthy. Anyway, we headed back to downtown Moab to do some shopping, and my mom got me this bandana and I bought myself this cute cup. Then we got some food. I was craving beans and rice, and this really hit the spot. And we headed back to our KOA for a good night of rest. Days 6 and 7, Voluntary Vagabonds. Day 6. First thing in the morning, we packed up camp and hit the road. We grabbed some coffee and then had a 2-hour drive to Capitol Reef, and again, the scenery changed so dramatically along the way I could not stop staring out the window. We stopped on the side of the road, initially just to pee, but we had to stay to appreciate the serenity of this space. And not long after, we made it to Capitol Reef. We didn't go very deep into the park, but the time we spent at the Fruita Orchard reminded me of peace and freedom. Then we were back on the road for what felt like a very long 2 hours to Bryce Canyon. Bryce Canyon is also very unique because it has the largest concentration of hoodoos, which are those thin and spiky rock formations in the entire world. We drove through the entire park and stopped at quite a few overlooks. At this one, we found another volcanic plug in the distance, which again, I was completely obsessed with. And all of the views were absolutely beautiful. But the deeper we got into the park, the higher in elevation we went, and I started to feel a little bit sick. That concludes this part of the vlog. Come back for part 2. Bye!